Greetings one and all. Somebody give me a thumbs up that you can hear and see me, if you would, before I start yakking away. Ultraviolet light. Going to be important today. All right, as soon as I see a thumbs up, we will begin. I've got a lot of stuff I want to cover before we get started. Has anybody had a chance to see the results video from the photo competition? I hope so. Let me see. Okay, Phil hears me in California. That's good enough. Jamie gives me 2 thumbs up, so that's even better. All right, guys, welcome. Glad you could all make it. First order of business is congratulations going out to macro everything around me, who is now going to be called meme from this point forward, because I just can't keep saying that. It's too much words, too many words even. So congratulations to meme for winning the photography competition in January with his incredible silica gel beads photograph. Has everybody seen that photograph? I'll find it while I'm talking. It was a great competition. There were a lot of really good entries, and I struggled with the final scores because they were terribly close. But anyway, that's the way it goes. It's a wonderful picture. It's not on my website yet, but it will be right after this live stream. A word about the video. I know that it is a long video, and that was kind of on purpose. I was going to split it, and then when I got to the end of doing the first part of the video, which was explaining to you how my scoring system works, Jamie had asked me to break down the categories that I give points in and explain how I give the points. So what I did was, using examples from this competition, I went through all 11 of the criteria that I look at and explained how I give points and why I take them away. And I thought it was important enough information that it needed to stay together. And it turns out the actual awards part at the end was very short, because I just went with the honorable mentions and the winners. So yeah, that's why it's a long video. They won't be that long in the future, because you will already know how I'm scoring them. Okay, so that was it. Congratulations to the winners. There were so many good photographs this time around. One last thing about it: if your photograph was not used during that video, either in the first part where I was showing examples, or in the second part because you were a winner, don't worry about it. That will even out over time. I don't have time to show every photograph and get my point across. And it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, because if you're upset that I wasn't showing yours as a good example of how to get the most points in a category, be glad I wasn't showing yours showing you how to get the least points in a category, because there were a few of those, which were done very gently, I would add. Go watch the video. Let me know what you think. If you're okay with that, then that's what we'll do going forward. So is macro everything around me here? He usually shows up at some point. I don't see him. Okay, well, there you go. But anyway, let's run down the list real quick, just so I can say hi to everybody before moving on. Hi to everybody. Ingolf, congratulations on a great 3rd place in the competition. Well done, you. Helen, greetings from the Midlands. Jamie, good to talk to you again. Glad you're here. Patrick, I know you're back. Glad to have you. Walter, hey. I got a question this morning. I'm going to jump to that real quick. This was from Richard Pill. Richard wants to know about what tubes, adapters, flocking, and other stuff he needs to set up short focus for a Mitutoyo. The reason I didn't answer his question in Discord where he sent it to me is because this gives me an opportunity to explain a couple of things about what's happening and how this question will stop being asked. The fact is, things are changing in my universe, and questions like this are going to meet with answers before you can even get the questions to me. And just us having this conversation will provide you with all of the information you need to get the products that you're looking for, the bits and pieces that are so hard to find. We're going to do all of that work for you. It is the way I met many of you, and it's the way my channel actually got started. And I think it's what gives me quite a bit of the credibility that I have, is that at the beginning, I answered every question like this with a long email that contained links and drawings and diagrams and photographs of everything you needed to set up whatever it was you were trying to do. I am going to continue doing that, as I always have since day one, but with the help of some automation. And that's what's going to make all the difference in the world. I'm not going to say anything else about it right now, other than to say you're going to be amazed, and it is going to make your life so much easier. I know how frustrating it is to hunt around for parts and bits and pieces when you don't even know what it is you need. We've got you covered. All right, where was I? I was saying hi to Ingolf and Helen. Helen wants to ask, when taking pictures with 20x objective, which is better, an objective on the camera or to use a stereo microscope? Well, Helen, if you have a good stereo microscope already, then certainly that would be the cheapest way to go, because you would just need an adapter for your camera, assuming that you have a trinocular, a dissecting scope, and it's a good one. If it's not a good one, the pictures are going to reflect that quite dramatically. I have a Leica, which has probably the best image there is, and I still think that my pictures taken with a Mitutoyo objective on the camera stand are better. You've got to remember that when you're taking pictures through a microscope, you are recording what you're seeing through the microscope. You're recording what you're doing. You're not taking photographs. It's not set up to take photographs other than to record what you're looking at. Our photography equipment is tuned and set up to give the best possible image quality, and that's the difference. You're getting the best optical quality from a good microscope into your eyes, but that doesn't always transmit into the camera. You've got these beam splitters and camera tubes and everything else that are intervening. So if you have the stereo microscope, by all means, get an adapter and try it. See what your pictures look like. And yeah, and a 20x Mitutoyo objective is expensive, and so is a good ITL 200 to go with it, and the tubes and everything else. It's not a cheap hobby. But I think at the end of the day, you'll be happier doing it as a photographic setup rather than piggybacking off the microscope. But we'll talk more about that again. Hembrodian, welcome. Hope everything's okay over there in Blighty. Laura, good afternoon. Watching while you're working. I don't believe that for a second. That's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Nils, welcome. Snowy, Norway. What doesn't surprise me about that? Hey, Gilles, how's it going, my friend? Gilles, was that actually a fossilized fish in your photograph in the competition? The pink thing? It's been driving me crazy ever since I saw that picture, and I've been meaning to ask you. Tell me, is it a fish? Is it supposed to be a fish? Is it a fake fish? Does anybody know what I'm talking about except Gilles? Look at his photograph in the video. You'll see it's got a fish in it. All right, where was I? Phil, welcome. California. Contingent. Walter. Walter posted a comment on the 7th of February edition of Macro Talk that includes the address for the YouTube video that I was asking about. Okay. Walter kindly offered to hook me up with a video that explains how you can use OBS and Zoom. I think I have watched all those videos, some of them more than 3 times, and yeah, they haven't worked yet. So I'll check that one out. Hopefully it's a different one. Alistair, good evening. How's Carlisle? probably pretty miserable. Forget I asked that. It's the wrong time of the year. Allan, greetings. Tennessee, 70 degrees. Very nice. Very nice. We had some bad weather here last night, by the way. It's probably coming your way now. Graham carries passive optical table, which is a sight for sore eyes. You should see this thing. What are the chances that Graham, who lives in the UK, would just happen to find somebody local-ish that had a gigantic Edmunds Optics or Thor Labs anti-vibration optical experiment table going on sale for a tenth of what the thing costs? Well, he did, and he got it, and it's incredible. Now I want one. It's about to become fully active because he's buying some pneumatic parts to fix it up. I just can't wait to see. Yeah, you're going to be at the Pazoom, I take it, next Saturday. If you're a Patreon person, every other Saturday we have a Pazoom, it's called. One Saturday it's at 8 in the morning, Central Time US. Then 2 weeks after that it's at 2 in the afternoon, and then we alternate. So it's friendly for Europe and friendly for the US at different times. Anyway, Graham is going to give us another installment of showing this table, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it because that's going to be exciting. That is the very pinnacle of vibration control in this biz, and this is something that Helen is going to want to watch too. Helen, because the vibration at 20x is killer. That's why Graham bought this table, was because of the 20x Mitutoyo. There you go. All right, everybody hears me, even in Newcastle. Angie, how are you? I didn't realize that was you in the competition until after, or I would have said hello. Great pictures. Larry, welcome. And Jay, good evening. And everybody's hearing me loud and clear. Good. Doug can hear me and see me fine in Douglasville. Then you know that we have arrived. And Rob Watt, Peebles, you're in the borders then. You're not far from Jedburgh, are you? That was my stomping grounds when I was a youngster. Jedburgh, just not far from there. I'll be. Small world, isn't it? Do you have sitting around in your house, I'm not talking just to Rob, I'm talking to anybody who's listening. Do you have sitting around in your house an old or not old USB type camera of the video variety? Maybe you bought one because you were going to do a podcast or a live stream thing, and then you decided, no, not if it's going to be like Allan's, we're not doing it. And you have the camera sitting there. If you are looking for a good home for a USB type camera that will work on a Mac, I'm looking for a donation of 1 or 3, because I'm going to put them up around the studio so that I can move around when I need to show you stuff. But they're not particularly expensive, but I am particularly broke. So there you go. If you have one, I'd love to have it. A word on Decon 90. The Decon 90 list is growing leaps and bounds. Lots of people have put in a request for a 100 mil, that's actually 125 mil, I discovered, bottle of Decon 90. Let me explain about this. The way it is Allan and Jan, Allan Rechtenwald and Jan Nelson donated Decon 90. Lots of it. And I've got all of the stuff that was donated, and I am giving it out to people who want some. And you can want it for any reason. Maybe you can't get it in your location, or you can't afford it. Whatever. And you can afford a little bit, but you can't afford a big bottle of it. Whatever. You don't have to explain what your reason is. You just have to email me and put Decon 90 in the subject heading so that I'll find the email. And then what we'll do is I have asked for people who feel so inclined to chip in some bottles and some postage money, because it costs about $13 domestically to mail these things. I got all the shipping stuff, all of the boxes and everything. I've taken care of that. And then as I get enough bottles and money to cover, and my money too, to cover the shipping, I'll send out batches of them. You don't have to have a reason to want some, and you absolutely don't have to explain to me why you're doing that. I don't want to hear that. And yeah, if you don't have the money for it, that's what this is. A bunch of macro photographers helping you out, and you don't have to say anything else. That's it. So yeah, don't feel bad about it. I mean, if you're in a position that you want some of this stuff because it's magical and it works miracles on some bugs, then yeah, it's yours. You need to hurry though, because there are only 25 servings left. Well, 25 servings total. I've got 2.5 liters. And when that's gone, that may be it forever. So yeah, you need to. I've got enough bottles. Don't anybody send me any bottles. If you want to chip in something, chip in a few bucks for helping with the shipping, and you can do that here through that thing at the bottom, the $sign at the bottom of your live stream thing, or you can do it by going to my website, Allan Walls Photography, and just go to the donate page, drop whatever you want to put in there and write in the comments Decon 90. But don't do that thinking that will be your asking for Decon 90. That will be your chipping in for Decon 90. You still have to email me to let me know you want it, and you have to give me your address, because I don't have your address. I don't have anybody's address. I barely remember my own address. Okay, that's enough of that. Angie wants to know, any suggestions on how to do slabbing efficiently in Helicon? It's taking an age doing it manually. Is there a way to set it up automatically somehow? Yes, there is. But there is a problem with doing slabbing in Helicon. There is only one reason to slab, and that is to make retouching easier. If you have let's say, for example, you have a stack that you're doing of, say, 350 images of a weevil, and you have 350 photographs that you're trying to stack, and when you do that and you get two outputs, a PMax and a DMAP, you have to go to each individual image throughout that entire stack to find little bits that you can use as a retouching source. That is inefficient and time wasting and inaccurate, because you're never going to get it all. So what we do is we stack this in chunks called slabbing. What you do is you go to batch, slabbing, and then when the window opens up, which is always on a different computer, there we go, under the preferences you say how many. This is a huge stack, so I would actually make big slabs here, probably about 15 with 3 overlap. I'd slab in PMax, I'd save them in the same file they came from, and then I'd hit OK. And then another thing opens up. This is your batch queue that says, yep, we got your order loud and clear. That's what we'll do. We'll split it up into batches of 15 and run the stacks with 3 overlap. And then all you do is run the batches, close the dialog. And it'll go about its business and do that. And when we get finished, instead of having 380 input sources, we're going to have about, let me have a quick guess here, it's going to be about 32, 33 slabs. Now, that's still a lot of slabs, but each slab is a mini stack of 15 images. So that antenna is probably, the parts of it are all going to be in focus, and it forms a very quick, easy way to retouch. Now, there's one problem with this. The slabs that you're going to use as the origin for your retouching, in other words, you're going to take data from the slabs and paint it onto a source image to create the final image. And those slabs have to be aligned with the original photographs. Okay? If the original photographs and the slabs are not aligned together, then you cannot retouch from both sources. And you need to be able to still go back to the individual slices for when you need to, because sometimes only the individual slice is going to give you the details that you need. I'm getting a message that there was a problem with streaming. I'll tell you what it might be. It might be that because I'm running a gigantic stack, it's cut into my CPU. But I'm not dropping frames. So tell me, guys, if there's a problem. Nope, I don't think so. Yeah, just leave me a message if I'm cutting out, and I'll stop the stack. So that's the deal. If you can break up the stack into mini stacks and then take those outputs and have them aligned and in the same project as the original images, then you can retouch perfectly. You have everything that you need to do the best retouching job. Angie's question, which is there a way to slab efficiently? Yes, you can auto slab. You can go into the settings in Helicon and instruct it to do what I just did. Break your stack up into lots of 15 and run them, and put an output as a type method B or whatever you're using. The problem is Helicon will not let you save those outputs back into the original file, which means for my purposes you cannot slab in Helicon, because if you can't save the aligned images back into the same pool as the original images, you don't have sufficient data to do the retouching properly. And that is just a fact. They don't have it yet. When I talked to them 2 years ago now, they told me that they were working on it, and there have been 2 releases since then, and they still don't have it. So it's problematic, and that's all the advice I can give you, Angie. Is Zerene does let you put those slabs back in with the originals and retouch from all of that data, and it does a better job. It's a more polished retouching engine, as also it's a much more polished 3D stereo engine than Helicon, which is going to be important this summer if you're going to enter that competition. So I'm afraid there is a way to set it up, but you're not going to be happy with the results if you're looking for a way to retouch maximally efficiently. That's not even a word, is it? Nils, welcome. Oh, you're not saying hi to me. You're speaking in a foreign language again, Nils. I don't understand that. If you do it again, I'm going to read it out loud and you'll be embarrassed. All right. Bacon Meister, good evening from Westcliff-on-Sea. That's by the sea, isn't it? Just west of the cliff. I think I know where you are. Yep, well, they're at it again. Harold is now talking back in a foreign language, so I'm completely cut out of that conversation. David, hi from Yorkshire. Glad you could make it. You've got to see this chit chat going between Harold and Nils. Yeah, I can't even guess. Most languages, I can guess what they're talking about. This, I can't guess. Wolf, welcome from central Pennsylvania. Well, I haven't been to Pennsylvania in a long time. All right, Gilles says, no, it wasn't a fish. It's just a pink crystal. All right, well, I drew a fish over it in the video. And the question is, where do I have those pictures? Just chat amongst yourselves while I think about it. I can't remember where I put them. Oh, there'd be, yeah. I'll find them. Give me just a minute to figure it out. Where I've got them in a folder somewhere. I can't remember where I put them. But yeah, it's definitely a fish. The thing in Gilles' photograph. It looks like it's up on the bank. It's got an eye and fins and scales. It's a fish. All right. He says it's just a pink crystal, though. Alistair, this is a small world. So anyone here the winner in last weekend's auction for in the UK? for the PB4 bellows. What auction in the UK for PB4 bellows? Did I hear about that? Was that something I was supposed to be doing? Oh, hang on. Jamie's got a USB camera for me. Jamie, you've already sent me too much stuff. Well, that's not right, is it? But thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed. That would be fantastic. As soon as we get some cameras up around here, I'll be able to be more mobile and I'll be able to show you stuff. I'm going to show you stuff today. In fact, I'll show you some stuff right now while that stack is still going. Did that answer your question, Angie? Probably not. It's a difficult one. So Angie was one of the two lady people who asked me some time ago if you could stack together a diopter and an EL Nikkor enlarger lens. And yes, you can. I said no, not really. It would probably be a messy picture with lots of distortion and aberrations. Turns out that that's not true. And it also turns out that the way I showed it to you last week is also not true. The way to set it up is like this. And how do I know? Well, because I tried it every single way I could, and then I talked to Rik Littlefield, who understands these things, and he explained that it would be better to have the Raynox here in reverse, backwards, facing the camera, with the EL Nikkor also in reverse, with the narrow end facing the subject. And this makes perfect sense because that is precisely how we use the lens as a macro lens, and that basically means that we're using the Raynox as a relay lens. Now, I'm gonna share a concept with you about relay lenses and about lens combinations. Okay. I don't want to wander too deep into this and miss out important questions, but here's the thing. The way lenses operate, the way they function, is quite different from the theoretical way we discuss lenses. When we're talking about lenses, especially when we pull out formulas to teach one another about the way light goes through a lens, we're generally talking about lenses that don't even exist. They're theoretical lenses that have no thickness. They just have an effect on the light ray. And lenses aren't like that. They're made of glass and other materials, and they're put in stacks in a metal tube, and they don't behave in some cases at all like you would predict from the formulas. So at the very best, when we talk about a magnification ratio that you calculate, we're talking about an estimation, a guess. And in some cases, it's a terrible estimate that is miles off. That's why a question like, how would I calculate the magnification of my EL Nikkor on X amount of extension? Well, you wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would put it on that amount of extension and then photograph a ruler and count the millimeters and measure it, because it is that imprecise. And the more pieces of glass you add between one end and the other of your lens, the more compounded the little errors and the little roundings become, until you end up with information that's pretty useless. So how then do we know that this is sharper and brighter and has less haziness than with the Raynox the other way around in front? Well, because I tried it. Because I used it with like that. I used it with a little bit of extension, with a larger bit of extension, with a lot of extension, and I just took lots and lots of pictures and looked at them side by side and realized that this in fact is the best way to use this lens combination. Now, P85, who I don't see here yet today, has actually written an article on this combination of lenses, and he's going to share that with me, and hopefully I'll learn more about it. But the point is this, the point that I'm making is this: experiment, try different things. Rik pointed out last night in our meeting that when a microscope company makes something like a tube lens to go with a particular objective, they're generally starting out with a set of rules that they have to work within. For example, your parfocal distance needs to be X. Your tube length needs to be 200 millimeters. The focal length of the tube lens you're going to use has to be 200 millimeters. They have these constraints. And then they design an objective that lives within those constraints and gives a suitable performance within those constraints. And that becomes the product. Well, what we do is we unscrew the objective from the end of that microscope that they designed around those constraints. And we put it in a system that's very different. What's to say that we can't find a better way to use that objective? Because we don't have any constraints. We don't have to work with a 200 millimeter tube length or an infinity distance of 30 millimeters or 70 millimeters. We can set it up any way we want. It might not work, and a lot of the time it doesn't. But it's people like Robert O'Toole and, of course, Rik Littlefield, who've been doing this their entire lives, who have experimented and pushed the boundaries on what you can get away with these lenses, have discovered a whole plethora of different arrangements for these lenses that give better and better results. So just because I say you probably need to use your Raynox reversed at 208 millimeters and use 70 millimeters of infinity space, what I'm telling you is what I use. That's how that's where I've arrived today. If you asked me 5 years ago, I would have told you 200 millimeters, not reversed, and no infinity space. But my pictures are better now than they were then because I'm doing it differently. And every day I try another arrangement. So remember, there are no exact answers, and there are only approximations. And if what you're doing is getting you sharper, brighter, more contrasty pictures, you're doing it right. Keep going. Okay? So my friend wanted to know what are the parts that he needs for the infinity space to put together. Oh, let me read the question again. Wants to know the tubes, adapters, and flocking for setting up short focus with a Mitutoyo. Okay, short focus with a Mitutoyo, you're probably talking about with the 5X that I did last time. Was it the 5X I used last time? Yes, it was. So for that, we swapped out the usual 208 millimeter diopter that we were using as a tube lens for the 250, the DCR 250, which is a 125 millimeter diopter. And we put this on in the forward orientation. Why forward? We just finished saying you need to put the relay lens on in reverse. Well, yeah, you normally do, but it seems to be sharper this way. Go figure. It's breaking another rule. So this is the first piece that you need for short focus. You need this. Then you need a way to connect this with your Mitutoyo. And the way you do that is with an adapter. I'll put it in the show notes. The adapter that is going to fit onto the Raynox has a 43 millimeter female thread, and it links to something like a 52 millimeter coupling ring, which then you can use a series of step down rings or a single adapter to put your objective on. And then I flock the whole thing using flocking tape. I'm going to get my flocking tape because I want to show it to you. I can't reach it. Somebody's going to have to give me a leg up. It's too high. I need a grabber. If I try to climb up on my metal shelf, I'll fall over. I found the best flocking tape. It comes in a roll. It's called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's it looks like velvet. It's blacker than any flocking I've ever used, and it's adhesive, and it comes on a roll. Yang or something like that. It's Chinese, but it's well worth it. Well worth it. I love this stuff. I didn't plan ahead. No, it's on the top shelf. Up where the globe is, up there. I'm not going up there. All right. So that's the deal. That's all you need. I will answer this question. Well, I've already answered it. I'll leave a link for the video in which I talk about how you set up the regular focus setup for the Mitu Toyo, and for short focus you just switch out the 250. You do know how to focus your relay lens at infinity, I hope. I'm not going to go into that again either because it's in the video, but that is an important part of the process, is making sure that your bellows are extended to the point at which that lens is focused at infinity. I'll put the link in the show notes, and I will put the links for these bits and pieces in there as well. Do you have Lightroom installed on your computer and using your hard drive? You do? Well, it almost killed my computer yesterday. I've been doing that because I bought a new computer a year ago, which seems like only a week ago. And since I got it, I've been telling myself I need to do something about these photographs because they're accumulating on my hard drive. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, yesterday was tomorrow, finally. I hit 1.5 terabytes of photographs in Lightroom on my hard drive. And that's only about 10% of my photographs that are not stored on my hard drive, that are stored on external drives. But it's very simple to fix if you're patient. You just go into Lightroom and drag that entire Lightroom folder and put it on another drive that's got at least that amount of room, and it just moves all your pictures over there. And my computer started working again. I should be a computer wizard for knowing that. Probably not. Probably not. Do you know that my email has been fixed? The email I haven't been able to answer for 6 months because there were 20,000 unread emails in it. Yep. You know Curly Toes? He's a real computer wizard, and he fixed my email. I think he just threw them all away, to be honest, but I'm not going to ask him. I think there might be a way for me to answer some of the important ones from the last 6 months. So if you wrote to me 6 months ago saying that you were in urgent need of help and could I come immediately, well, I couldn't. Sorry, my email was broken, but I'll come as soon as I get your message. All right, where was I? All right. Oh my goodness, some questions slipped by here. Let me see. Yeah, Jay. He did. I mean, depending on what you call quite a lot. I mean, it was when he told me it was. I shouldn't say because I mean he might tell you, but it was. I thought that's nothing. That is an absolute walk in the park. That's not even a Mitu Toyo objective there. And I would buy that in a heartbeat, but you won't find one over here. Right, let me see. Well, Rob's got a litre of Decon 90, and Rob's in Scotland. Oh, Rob, drop me a line, send me an email, contact@allanwallsphotography.com. and let's talk. We'll set up a Zoom or something and figure out a way to. That's very kind of you to do that. That will save us a lot of money on shipping, and I can give you what you need for domestic shipping. Yeah, we'll work that out. That's fantastic. Great. All right, Bud's asking about the Photoshop video. Well, the Photoshop video is actually going to be a Photoshop live stream. And that is something that I have to edit before it's ready to do the live stream with. Bud and I did a video where we discussed various basic introductory areas in using Photoshop to edit macro photographs, and it's a great little video with lots of interesting stuff to talk about. But seeing as it was initially going to be a live stream that we are doing together, that we can't do together because there is, as of now, no way for me to get his sound into the live stream like this. What we decided to do was just record our conversation and our screen, and then what I'm going to do is present that in a live stream where I will be live, just like I am here, and I will play the video for you. And you can ask questions that I will answer as the video is playing. It's going to be interesting. I've never done that before, but it's the only way that we can hear Bud's voice, and we need to hear what he's doing. So that's the answer to the question. Well, the question was, when am I going to do it? Well, I finished editing the last video at 3 o'clock this morning. Bud and I haven't had a chance to really do very much other than get ready for this live stream, but it'll be next up on my plate. I'm guessing next week. It might even I'll announce it. Maybe I'll announce it before the end of this video so that you'll know when to come. But it'll be I think next week. It won't take me long to edit, so that's the plan. You didn't need all that information, did you? You just wanted a date. Don't know. I'll post it on Discord. I'll post it on Patreon the minute I know. There you go. All right, fantastic. Zeon and Steve, welcome. All right. Yes, it was. You got Baconmeister. You got the number exactly right, and that is cheap for that table. All right. Wolf has a question if it fits into the conversation. Well, you can ask it if it doesn't, and we'll change the conversation. You shot 90 photos of some moss, which accentuated a problem I've been having. The x-axis rotates as I move the focal plane across the subject. Yeah, well, it would, and that is the problem. Okay, there is a rule of thumb in macro photography, and that is, well, I'm making this up as I go along. I'm going to say it's a rule of thumb. If you can change your focus using the focus ring on your lens, then do so. It is always better to do that than it is to move the camera in relation to the subject. When the subject is very small, and I mean tiny, smaller than the entrance pupil of the lens that you're using or the objective that you're using, then it's okay to move the camera. But when it's bigger, and I imagine a blob of moss would be bigger than the entrance pupil of your lens, it is better to change the focus using the focus ring or using the autofocus focus advance mechanism in your camera if your camera has one. The reason is it's all a matter of changing perspective. If your subject is here and your lens is moving towards it to change focus, the outline of your subject in relation to the picture on the sensor is changing. And when an outline changes, Zerene and Helicon don't know what to do with a changing outline on a subject. When your subject is teeny tiny and you move, the outline doesn't change. It's within the entrance pupil, so the perspective stays the same. And that means all you have to do is change the size. And it's all about the alignment program that you're using. Now, there are some settings. You didn't say which stacker you're using, but there are some settings in Zerene that will allow you to minimize some of that X drift. And that's really beyond the scope of this, because it would mean going through all of the different alignment options in Zerene. I might do a video on that actually, because that's important stuff. But there are a couple that if you, well, I'm kind of stuck doing it, aren't I? Let me see if I can open it while that stack's going. Yes, let me bring the preferences pane over. Well, I'll do it there. Okay, let me change the screen for just a second. So if you're using Zerene, if you're not using Zerene, I'm afraid I don't know how to tell you to fix this in Helicon, but in Zerene, you go to alignment, this first option, and I have everything. Oh my goodness, I should have undone this. I have everything turned off because I was doing some stereo stuff last night, and I meant to have these all set back on default. I can't do that now because I'm in the middle of a stack, so this stack's going to be messed up. But anyway, yeah, if you're using a microscope objective to photograph your moss, just turn scale off. But otherwise, you leave these on, all checked, and it will take care of most of that problem for you. But the best bet is to use the focus ring on your camera rather than using a focus rail. Now, if you're already doing that, let me know, and it'd be interesting to see how messed up this stack is because I had those settings all set wrong. It seems to be doing okay so far, but oh dear, that's a mistake that I'm hoping that Rik will look into that, because I think a lot of people are going to run into this problem doing the stereo stuff, where you have to change settings just for that shot, and then you have to go back and change them again, otherwise it remembers them. And if it remembers them, some of the changes are really weird you have to do for stereo. What about stereo? We've got that competition coming up, and I said I was going to teach you how to do it. What I was going to do today was do a live demo of a basic stereo processing, and I am going to do that next week. And then the week after, I will probably add a second live stream to do the advanced technique that is brand new, that has only, it's a combination of Rik's old way of doing it with the way I do my slabbing. And the beauty of it is you cannot retouch a stereo image from the source images. Okay, that's just the way it is. You'll see why when we do it, but you cannot use a source image to retouch the stereo image. There is a way that you can slab and stereo at the same time, and that is what I'll teach the following week. That is very much for advanced users because it's complicated and it has a lot of steps, but it's certainly doable. So next week I'll just walk you through how to make a stereo image so that you can enter the competition in June. Okay, and yeah, that's written in stone, and then later on we'll do the fancy one. So what was the question? It was 90 photos of some moss, and the x-axis rotates. It's because you're moving past. I mean, you're not physically going past, you're moving as if you would go past your subject, and that is changing the perspective, and it's causing all of those problems that you have, and it's probably causing streaking at the edges of your photographs too. And by changing those settings and by using the focus ring, that'll stop. What you've been doing to correct for this is post-processing, is align the layers to correct the perspective. Now, that you can't correct for perspective distortion with alignment because it doesn't correct the change in the outline. It only corrects really the size difference. If you're using your focus ring, your subject will be getting progressively bigger or smaller depending which way you're going. And the alignment program just has to resize it to align it. That it can do. What it can't do is make up a new shape, and that's the problem that you're having. You're fixing this problem on the wrong end. You need to fix it. you need to fix it before. What you're doing there of aligning and then cropping in Photoshop is it's a non-scalable solution. That might work for a landscape with 3 photographs, but it's not going to work with 90 photographs. You'll go mad though. You will go mad trying. Do you have a dedicated stacking program? If you don't, get one. That will fix your problem. Helicon and Zerene cost the same. Zerene is better because it has more options, more tools. You'll grow into Zerene. I've been using it for donkey's years, and I'm only just learning how to do some of the weird stuff on it. It's always getting better. It's always a pro tool. I can't say that for Helicon until they let you do slabbing. So fix your problem on the front end with the focus ring, and if that doesn't do it, then we can talk post-processing. Photoshop chokes if there are too many images. Like 6. I mean, I used to do all my stacking in Photoshop, and most of the time I crash my computer. It's just not made for that. It also doesn't use. It uses some very basic averaging mathematics to do the stacks, which result in terrible halo and artifact. And you don't want that. You don't want to be dealing with all of that stuff. It's already hard enough to deal with when you're using a dedicated stacking program. The best thing you could do, Wolf, is just bite the bullet and buy a license. Get the prosumer license for Zerene, and your life will improve. That Photoshop thing, crazy. Just too difficult. Oh, you're shooting with your iPhone. Oh, blimey, that changes everything. So you've got a movable stage, you're using a 21 times magnifier lens on a phone. Okay. I'm going to have to think about that one. I have never in my life stacked anything with a phone, but that almost guarantees to cause problems because it's going to resize your images anyway. I need to think about that. Best advice, buy a camera. If you're going to be doing 90 shot stacks, I honestly don't know how you could do it on a phone. I'm sure somebody has figured it out. If anybody here knows, please chime in. That would be super interesting. I love doing stuff with the phone and a macro lens. I use lenses I rip out of flatbed scanners that I glue on the front of my phone, and they're great. But I've never tried to stack with one. That sounds too much work, really. But I'll think about it. Okay, these Norwegians are just chit-chatting away again. They were talking about my YouTube shows. No, you weren't. I would have seen YouTube show written in there. Or is that Norwegian for YouTube show? All right. Alistair, there was a PB4 on eBay last weekend, which you bid on but failed. The seller was in Edinburgh. And how much were they selling a PB4 for, did you say? How much did it go for? A PB4 over here shouldn't cost you more than $100 at the most on eBay. A PB6 has got a bit more expensive. You might spend $200 for a PB6. It's because we're running out of PB6s. I'm an expert at losing on auctions. I have lost more microscope auctions this month. Robert just sent me a message to say that I'm not going to tell you where the auction is because somebody will go bid on it and I'll lose that one too. But yeah, there's one I'm going to try later on. Okay, Angie, the answer helped a little bit, although you wanted to slab to help cut down on the images you keep. Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all is that an error. I keep very, very few source images just because of the space. I have 7-8 terabyte drives, and I'm running out of space. So I don't I don't keep even slabs. The thing is, my workflow is such that if I do a stack and it comes out bad, I'll assess it right there and then. Did I do something wrong? Was there a black frame in there, a dropped frame that I included somehow? Or was there one picture from another stack that made its way in there? If there is, I'll restack it. Maybe not that day, but I'll leave everything in the folder. If I have a successful stack that I then retouch and I'm happy with the output, I throw everything away, including the slabs. If it's just a matter of you don't have time to finish the retouching and you want to do it later, then yeah, hold on to the slabs by all means. But for me, I don't like to start to retouch unless I have the originals and the slabs available. So I do it all at the same setting. This one, which isn't going to be finished by the time we're through today because it's such a big stack, I'll finish that next. That'll be the next thing I do, and before I throw all of those pictures away. But yeah, I mean, you can do that. You can save the slabs, but I'll bet if you keep track, Angie, of how many times you open up that project and take those slabs out and look at them and use them, it'll be never. I'm going to give you a little pointer here, guys. You buy a big case that you're going to put your lenses in. It's a big trunk that I showed you last week, my big trunk. It's under the window. Somebody says, hey, I've got some expandable foam. You should try that. You put it in there and it expands, and you pluck bits of it out and put your lenses in. Sounds good, right? Well, it arrived. If you take one of these rolls of foam, and they come in a fairly large roll, and you put it in your car to drive home, don't open it in the car on the way home to feel the consistency of the foam. Just don't do it. Don't cut the plastic at all, because it starts to swell up immediately, whether you're still in the car or not. And it will fill the car completely as it swells up. So just be careful with that. That's a top tip. It's an expert tip for transporting compressed foam. It's free. That one's free. All right, let me see. So yeah, Angie, you're going to be good either way. Whether if you're just keeping 10, 20, 30 slabs, that's fine. But certainly look into the other options for being able to retouch. What time is it, guys? Oh, gee, we've lost another whole hour's gone by. Let me hit these questions real quick. Have I or anyone, this is from Phil, ever purchased from Test Equipment USA? No, but I have looked at stuff on that site, and I'm going to go look at that 10X Mitutoyo. Oh, our batch is done. Do you want to see this for a couple of minutes before we wrap it up? So the batch execution is done, which surprised me. So, okay. You're probably wondering where my outputs are. There they are. So how many... we've only got 24. That's not too bad. So what I'll do with these slabs, and you'll notice they're called left eye slab because I also forgot to change my naming convention when I did this. Oh, and you know what? I bet I also forgot to turn off the stereo in preferences. Let me see. Yeah, I did. So I've created a massive stereo pair of this. That's going to take me a long time to process, so we're gonna pretend that didn't happen. Yeah. Don't rush it with stereo, and when you're finished with stereo, turn all the stereo stuff off again. Otherwise, you'll mess up your next stack. Okay. So let me. No, I don't know about this particular buy at Test Equipment, but I'll look. They're selling it for new for $880. That's a good price. That is that's less than you'll pay at Microscope World and a lot less than you'll pay at Edmunds. which it's $1,000, the 10x at Edmunds. But I'm sure they're legit. I mean, these companies that sell Mitutoyo sell them in the boxes. I can't see where my Mitutoyo box is, but yeah, they sell them in the boxes with the papers and everything and all that. So I would jump on it if you're looking for one. It's a lovely. And the question is, how good is the Wii Macro 10x objective in comparison to the Nikon CFI Plan 10x? They aren't even in the same ballpark. The 10x objective that the Wii Macro sells is actually a finite objective. You just put it on 150 millimeters of extension, and it's not very good. It has a small numeric aperture. Not a very bright lens, and it's full of nasty aberrations. This on the other hand, the CFI Plan 10x is a really nice, one of the better photography lenses there is. Has a huge image circle. It's very bright. Working distance is a little short. It's at 10.5 millimeters. But it takes great pictures. You can use a Raynox, $60 Raynox tube lens. This is $200. As much as I love Wii Macro and respect everything they're doing in the macro world, that objective is not worth the money. It's the same. It's the same as the 4X objective that is one of the best buys in macro photography. That $20 objective, but that 10 is not worth it. I wouldn't buy it. Okay, there's an EL Nikkor 63 millimeter f2.8 for $79. I'm just not exactly sure what I'd do with a 63. Somebody's going to lend me one to test this summer. But I'm not sure what its role is going to be in macro for me. All right, Zerene, that's a new name. Welcome, Zerene. Are you from this planet? It doesn't sound like it, but have you heard about the Oppo Fin X3 Pro, built-in microscope lens with a 30 by 60 magnification? Oh, it's a phone. No, honestly, I don't. I have to plead ignorance when it comes to phones. I was at a macro club meeting last night in Seattle, and one of the chaps there just does phone photography, and my goodness, he had some lovely macro photographs taken with his phone. I can barely use my phone to answer a telephone call, let alone do macro photography. So I've not seen that phone, but I'll look it up after this. Hey, biker recumbent, glad you made it. And yeah, Steve says there's apps for Android, not sure about iPhone. Okay. How much did that PB4 go for? I didn't see the answer to that question, but yeah. I'll follow up with that later too. I'll check on that phone thing and get back to you next time. I'll make a copy of these questions. I don't know if I'm going to get to everything, but I'm going to keep going. If you have to go back to work, just go on. This will all be on the recording. Alistair, your heart set on the 50 millimeter. Yeah, that's David talking to Alistair. Yeah, get the 50 millimeter. Get the 50 millimeter f2.8 N. It has to be the N. You'll be glad you did. Let me see. Biker, lucky enough last weekend to get an almost new combo. PB6, yes. SB29s, PK11A and AR10 for just €80. That's fantastic. You have the 105 as well. Oh, very nice. Quite a collection of glass. Good for you. Congratulations. Oh yeah, we do some fairly deep diving into macro here, Biker. You'll enjoy it. Great. I'm glad the website and channel are helpful to you. Well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. Appreciate it. The PB4 went for 150, which is about right these days. That is 150 is fair enough if it's a mint condition, if it's coming from Japan in the box with the papers, like my PB6 did. Yeah, I would say over here about $100 would be about right for the PB4. PB4 is nice. PB6 is better. PB5's not worth it. All right, where are we? There's some more information on prices here. The EL Nikkor 50mm f2.8N went for £69. That used to be exorbitant over here. When I bought my first one, which admittedly was not an N, I paid $20 for it. And then I paid $25 for my first N. Now you're lucky to find one for $100, an N. It's because I've talked about them too much. But it's fantastic lens. Do love it. Okay, fantastic. I will follow up with you, Rob, this afternoon, and we'll work something out. That's fantastic. Very kind of you. Very generous. All right, so that'll change things a little bit too with my list. If you have written to me, you're on my list, and if you're in the UK, I'll email you. All right. So I think we're at the end of our time, and oh, I wanted to tell you something. Somebody who joined us a couple of times in the last few months, Stuart Wood. He's familiar to a lot of you, I know. Stuart's a macro photographer and Spider-Man living in the UK, and is a friend of mine. And he and I talked yesterday and decided that we're going to do something together, a collaborative effort. I know a lot of my audience want to know about raising live spiders and that type of thing. Something I'm not particularly familiar with, but Stuart said he'd come on and talk about that, so that'll be fun if you're interested. It'll be coming up directly. So he just got himself a computer upgrade and is working on getting all that sorted out before we do it, but it'll be sometime soon, so that'll be fun. All right, I think we're close to at the end. All right, how do we protect wings on spread insects when cleaning a scruffy one? Are you cleaning the wings or are you cleaning the body? It depends on the size and the nature of the wings. Things that have exquisitely delicate wings, I only use air to clean. You can use a charged sensor brush, and I have one that I use. That I can reach. If you take a sensor brush, it doesn't have to be a fancy one. In fact, I would recommend not. I've got a sensor brush that I use on my sensor, and a sensor brush. This is my sensor brush that I use on my sensor. It's a German brush, and it never comes out of that case except to clean my sensor. This is my other one. This is for insects. If you blow air through this with a rocket blower, pump about 10 times, this thing becomes very, very statically charged. If you brush those wings, Angie, it'll lift the dirt right off them. Magic, absolutely magic. And this thing is soft as can be. Some of my insects are too small even for this, in which case I just use puffs of air. If you've got something like a dragonfly and you can really get into it, just use a paintbrush and knock the dirt off. But you notice nowhere in there did I say wet. Don't do any wet cleaning on wings. They'll stick together. You'll just be miserable. Oh, you're trying to protect the wings while you clean the rest of the insect. Well, what I do is I pin them first. So if I'm going to have to clean the body of an insect with spread wings, I glue pin the bug. I put a bent insect pin, glue it and pin it, or glue it or pin it, so that wait till it dries and it's completely solid on the end of the pin, and then I hold the pin while the wings are out of the way and I just brush around it. That's what I do. You need to come to one of my insect cleaning workshops and I'll show you how to do all of that stuff. It's too hard to describe the little details, but yeah, it's tricky. All right. Let me see. Anything else I need to answer? You recently watched, Biker says, my Nisi NM180 rail. Did I hear about the NM200? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And it does seem to be even better. Yet several companies have very similar rails to this, and the 200 appears to have fixed a lot of the problems that the 180 had, but I have not received one. I do work with Nisi, and I may well have an email in my 20,000 emails asking me if I want to test that. So I may go looking for that later on this afternoon, but I have not used it. Oh, Allan has a black widow spider that he just fed a fly to. Well, that's nice. You and Stuart will get on well together. I don't think I would keep black widows. No. Let me see. Cleaning the body, right. Yep, that's what I'd do. Pin it first. Relaxing the body in a wet solution to set it. Oh no! If you're trying to protect the wings on a spread insect, why are you wetting it? If the wings are already spread, are you just trying to limber up the appendages to position them? If that's what you're doing, Decon 90 is what I do. I use a paintbrush, a very fine paintbrush, and I put little dots of Decon 90 on the joints of the extremities on a butterfly, wait a few minutes, and then dip just the legs into some clean water to rinse it off, and you'll be able to move them. That's what I do. Ingolf has problems with Stuart's accent. I will pass that on to Stuart Ingolf. And I'll explain to him about your accent, and you two can just duke it out. Oh, that's funny. He does have a bit of an accent, doesn't he? I understand him, though. All right. Did I already congratulate you, Ingolf? Lovely photograph. Lovely photograph. Piece of pro work there. All right. So Biker hears that the NM200 is actually, the Nisi rail is in short supply. That doesn't surprise me. Everything's in short supply. Okay, it's time to wrap it up. Angie, try that Decon 90 dipping the legs and not wet the rest of the body, and if it's a butterfly. But what I would not do, I would not try to wrap the wings or do anything to manipulate them. They will just snap off if you're not careful. And I wouldn't relax the whole thing just to relax the legs, because your wings are then going to have to be repositioned. The less you do, the better. And you know, when all else fails, I use clever positioning to hide what I couldn't fix. That's a top tip. All right. Yes, lots of backlash, but Phil, there's a way to fix that, but we won't get to that today. I'll tell you about it later. All right, everybody, thanks so much for coming. I really enjoyed it, as always. I didn't get to everything on my list, but hey, that's what next week's for. Next week, come prepared to think stereo, and I will have a stereo ready to go, and we'll do some amazing stuff. That's it. Congratulations once again to Macro Everything Around Me for a fantastic. Has anybody else seen his picture? I didn't show it to you. Blimey, I can't believe that. You know, I'm not going to have time. I'm not going to be able to find it because I get all discombobulated if I'm in a hurry, and I don't know. I don't know where it is. Oh, I do know where it is. Just bear with me. Unless you've got to go back to work, I'm going to find it and I'm going to show it to you because I was so pleased with this photograph that he took. So just hum to yourselves. It's in that folder. Ingolf's photograph was a lovely block of crystals of iron disulfide, one of the hardest minerals to shoot. Here we go. And the one that won was this Photo Comp January stills, and the winning one, almost there. There were so many good pictures, and it's just a shame that that they all can't win. But I can't remember the oh, I remember the name. But I can't find the picture. Just nope. I see every single picture, including I found Gilles' picture with the fish in it. Okay, I'm going to share my screen one more time, and you'll see that even though he doesn't think it's a fish, it is a fish. And then I'll find the other one. So this is the Gilles that he turned in this picture, which did very well, got a very high score. And this is a fish. This is its back and its head and its eye and its fin right there and its scales. It's a fish. But he said it's not, it's just a pink crystal. It's a fish. Clear as day. Okay, I can't find the winning photograph because it's because it doesn't have the I can't find the title for it. So forget it. I'll go and look at the video. Go and look at the video. Go look at my website. It'll be on there in about 10 minutes. Congratulations everybody for participating. Thanks for coming today, and I will see you later. Take care. Goodbye.